ABC's 2020 did a story about Justin Harris, who's the Republican from Arkansas that we covered pretty extensively a few months ago. And he was involved in this rehoming of adopted children. He rehomed the children to a child molester. And ABC's 2020 did this piece about the controversy around it. And some people were upset with the piece, saying it wasn't fair to the Harrises. And others said, well, it wasn't really fair to the Department of Human Services, which was involved in the adoption of the kids, and others say it was a hit piece. And there was an interesting little tidbit because I made a brief appearance in the 2020 piece, and so did our friend Kyle Kulinski from Secular Talk. Let's play the clip.
He uses the State House as his backdrop, but his 11-minute press conference focuses mostly on the system and how it failed the Harrises. Justin offers few apologies.
We were not prepared for children with severe undiagnosed reactive attachment disorder.
A state representative embroiled in controversy.
And outrages a nation. Justin shutters his Twitter account, but online, people are slamming the family values legislator. And on his voicemail, it gets even uglier.
I just wondered why people like you wasn't in jail. I think you'd be rich for that.
I mean, this is absolutely disgraceful and reprehensible. You are a monster yourself.
Disturbing story from a so-called man of God. That can't be easy for you.
It's not easy, but
People wondering if they contacted me, if I had any idea that we were going to be included in that. Absolutely not. They just used it, and that's absolutely fine with me. And it's a very important thing because right now, Lewis, we're in the middle of this fair use crisis where, as I've told you, we go out of our way not to use local news clips on our show, not to use clips from the NFL, not to use clips from these sort of troll copyright services like Jukin Media, because they, although I believe incorrectly file copyright claims against us, they do it, and it really is bad for our channel. It makes it so that our YouTube channel can't function normally. There was just a big case that actually said, no, Jukin Media was wrong about some of their copyright claims. Fair use does extend more broadly than a lot of these aggressive copyright claimers believe. And I don't care. Obviously, I have no recourse. If I didn't like what 2020 did, they used a clip of our show in a broader piece that did much more than just repeat a clip of our show. And the unfair part is that if we wanted to go after 2020 for that, not that we do, it would actually be very difficult. But unfortunately, when we use a clip from local news, we immediately get a copyright strike against us on YouTube. And until we can prove that we used the clip under fair use, our account is jeopardized. And there's this very big disproportionality with the use of these third-party clips that I wish was different, because our show would be much better if we didn't have to constantly act out of caution to avoid getting these copyright strikes.
Yeah, I think in the case of YouTube, it would make much more sense, although admittedly it would be far more difficult to have it work in the opposite way. You know, first they need to prove that we have somehow violated the use, fair use.
And ideally, we would be allowed to respond before action is taken, where they say, hey, they used our stuff. And we say, hey, here are the 4 rules that justify fair use. And we've met all 4 of those rules. And thus, we're absolutely fine and in the clear to use this clip. And when people email me and they say, David, look into fair use, you're allowed to use those clips. We understand that. But the trouble that is caused when fraudulent cases of copyright infringement are brought against us is almost not worth the trouble.
Yeah, really, it's incredibly annoying, and we work around it. It's not a huge problem for us because it is relatively easy to work around, but it still would be nice to be able to use those clips.